Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Friday, October 11th, 2024. Fire potential impacts for the next few days are shown here. We still have some wind today and tomorrow over the central Idaho mountains today and across much of eastern Nevada, northwest Utah, and up into western Wyoming, and some gusty winds along the Sierra Front today. So pretty windy day overall today with gusts 25 to 35 miles per hour. Tomorrow the winds are more concentrated over Utah, as far southern Nevada, and just the southeast corner of Idaho here. And we may see an isolated storm or two on Saturday across the north. And then on Sunday, our winds lighten up, and we begin to see a little bit of moisture coming into Utah, and we may see some isolated storms there in southeast portions of the state. Temperatures still remain warmer than average, 5 to 15 degrees as we head into the first of next week. Past 24 hours were very quiet with no precip or lightning. Fire activity, new initial attack was quite low with only 2 fires for 0.6 acres, but our ongoing large fire activity was another big day, 43,000 acres for large fire growth. However, about half of this was from our ongoing monitor fires that report in once a week. It's been a couple of dry weeks with still virtually no precipitation in the past 14 days, and we're still very far below normal for the time of year. ERCs haven't changed too much in the last couple of days. We're still seeing some pretty high values over Utah, up into western Wyoming, along the Sierra Front, and over the central Idaho mountains. A few of the stations have come down just a bit across the Payette area, with some higher relative humidities up there. A closer look here at our ERCs for the central Idaho mountains. Here we can see we are right at maximum historical levels for the time of year, and those values are going to stay steady for the next few days. And then we begin to see the impact of a low pressure system moving into the Pacific Northwest that may finally bring some precipitation into the area, and we can see those ERCs starting to dip down towards the end of the 7-day period. Further south over the northwest or the northern Utah mountains, those values still remain high through the next few days as well, and then we'll see them coming down in the middle of next week. Okay, the satellite imagery this morning showing some clouds in place over eastern Utah today. Otherwise, generally dry conditions as we have southwest flow across the area ahead of this little low. This low will be moving inland over the coming days, but it really falls apart and weakens as it gets to the Great Basin, not expecting to bring any kind of precipitation, maybe some slightly cooler temperatures to the area. Smoke impacts for today are shown here on the left, with smoke being pushed off to the north and east as we have generally southwest winds in place. That holds true for the most part tomorrow as well. The general wind pattern here showing southwest flow across much of the Great Basin today, especially over Nevada, portions of Utah, and up into eastern Idaho and western Wyoming. Closer look at those winds here. Quite gusty over southern Nevada and into western Utah, northeast Utah, western Wyoming. Still breezy over the central Idaho mountains, but maybe not quite as strong up there. Minimum relative humidities are still a little bit higher up there as well, with pretty low values over Nevada and Utah, values there in the low teens, just only slightly higher across southern Idaho. On Saturday, this low moves inland into southeast Oregon and weakens quite significantly, but we will see gusty winds remaining over Utah, maybe some slightly cooler temperatures moving in associated with this low. Again, gusty winds in Utah again, with those gusts 30 to 35 miles an hour, and minimum relative humidity staying low across much of Utah and Nevada, although far northwest Nevada we'll see the RHs come up just a bit associated with that low. And there is a chance of an isolated storm or two in the central Idaho mountains on Saturday associated with that low. Temperatures still remaining fairly warm across the north, certainly above average for the time of year, anywhere 10 to 15 degrees above average, upper 70s in Nevada and Idaho, a little bit warmer here on the east side with highs in the low to mid 80s. On Sunday, that low is still kind of falling apart, not doing too much for us, things just staying generally warm and dry across the area. Lighter winds are going to be expected on Sunday as that low really weakens, and minimum relative humidities do come up just a little bit across a larger area, especially over Nevada into Idaho with values in the mid 20s, but still dry over southern Nevada and central and southern Utah. Temperatures are still on the warm side on Sunday, although they do come down a little bit on the in Utah with highs in the upper 80s. And then we could see an isolated storm in eastern Utah here or there, again associated with a little bit of moisture coming up ahead of that low. 3-day precipitation totals on this forecast are really pretty meager. They're not really calling for any significant precipitation to the area through late Sunday. Okay, that low is still kind of hanging around on Monday, and a little bit of moisture still in place in eastern Utah. We could see some storms developing there once again. Still generally dry elsewhere and warm, still above normal temperatures for the time of year. As we head into Tuesday and midweek, we start to see a stronger trough developing off the Pacific coast. This will begin to increase winds across the Great Basin. We still have this low kind of hanging out in southeast Utah, which may produce, again, some isolated storms there, otherwise warm and dry everywhere else. That low starts to swing in Wednesday, so gusty winds across much of the areas are expected ahead of this low, especially over Utah and southern Nevada. The low is looking like it will start impacting the area on Wednesday with cooler temperatures and some precipitation coming to northern Nevada and far western Idaho. We do introduce some yellows to our map beginning Wednesday. And then heading into Thursday, that trough continues to move through. Most of the impacts look to remain over the northern half of the area, Idaho into northern Nevada and northern Utah with some precipitation. Again, this is a little bit far out and our confidence hasn't been super high in these troughs, but this one does look like it's actually going to come through, so we'll just be keeping an eye on how much precipitation comes through and how cold the temperatures get. We definitely do expect high elevation snow to accompany this low as it moves through mainly Wednesday into Thursday. 7-day precip totals are shown here, so we are looking for right now maybe 1/4 of an inch of precipitation to the central Idaho mountains, mainly on that west side. Western Wyoming could see some precip, and our Yellow Lake fire here in northeast Utah has a chance to see some as well, again in that Wednesday to Thursday timeframe next week. The extended forecast for October 18th through the 24th finally shifts the heat off to the east, and we bring in some normal temperatures to even below normal temperatures across the north and above normal chances for precipitation right on our doorstep there in Idaho, and then also portions of eastern Utah. So a good signal that things may start to change across the Great Basin. That concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.